The wrestling calendar is just full of ups and downs. There are people that have just amazing years. I think this year was definitely a year that we saw Ernest Youngman really grow. Around this time last year, Ernest Youngman had lost to Dewey Archer in a match that really set him down in the dumps. Since then, he's had an absolutely sensational year, a year that he can definitely be proud of. And tonight he gets an opportunity to cap it off by winning the World's Heavyweight Championship. Similarly, Froescher has been down on his luck a couple times this year, but tonight he took an opportunity, and tonight he gets to face Scythe for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship. You know, there are so many moving parts throughout the year, things just tend to build up. There's a pressure cooker, and eventually it all has to break. And it all begins again. For MAW, that night is in October. It is our anniversary show. So ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paddy, and welcome back for another edition of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. Thank you for joining me at the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium for the first ever time. We are here for where it all begins again. Tonight, we are ready for some of the biggest matches in the history of MAW. In our main event of the evening, John Greed defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Ernest Youngman. The Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship is on the line as the monster among men. Vinnie Cruz's favorite demon, Scythe, defends against the charismatic brawler from California, the King of California, the Bro, Froescher. And also, the World Tag Team Championships are on the line as the Dynamite Express defend against the team of Kid San Juan and Island Boy Apollo, the winners of the Sam Keith Classic 2019. Also in a four-way tag team match, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Tag Team Championships are on the line as Devil May Care defend against the Ring Generals Notorious and Dead Men Walking. A clusterfuck it will be who will come out on top as the Mid-Atlantic Regional Tag Team Champions. Also, the next two matches in the Hot Prospects tournament continues tonight as Huracan takes on James Diaz, the return of the monster, and Humberto Ramos takes on Shuzu Utagawa. Those are our quarterfinal matches in that tournament tonight. Furthermore, two special attraction matches as Chris Caulfield, the All-American Hardcore Hero, takes on Shinikami, member of Devil May Care, who is reckless and willing to do anything it takes to win. And also, our resident A-lister, Dewey Archer, will be taking on American Elemental in our opening contest. A big night for Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. We are here in the famous Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium, a general sports venue built in North Carolina only a few years ago, built to attract tourism and sports to North Carolina with a heavy investment from local businessmen. One of those businessmen was Rip Cord, with a view to the future. And finally, here in 2019, we will run the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium, 2,000 capacity building. We got 1,000 people in for this event last year, and we set an aim to fill this building a year later. And god damn it, we are trying our hardest. Can we fill the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium? No, but we came down close, and we almost doubled our attendance. We start the show with George Wolf flanked by his new group, Papa Dan, Logan Wolfsbane, and Robin DeLay, and he gets in the ring and he says, "Tonight, it all begins again." I always loved the theory. I always lived the theme of this show. And you know what? It's about progress. It's about looking at what happened last year that was great and what's going to happen next year that is even better. And what you are looking at right now is the pinnacle of wrestling progress. You know, people are always getting stronger. People are always getting faster. The knowledge of how to make yourself a machine continues to grow as the years progress. And you know what? The men you are looking at right now, Logan Wolfsbane, Robin DeLay, and George Wolf, we are the pinnacle of that principle. We were born in this business. We have family legacies in professional wrestling. And ever since we entered this building, we have worked damn hard. We're the first in the gym and we're the last to leave. We have great diets and we look wonderful. We are the pinnacle of professional wrestling, the absolute ideal of what a professional wrestler looks like. You are looking at it, and you know, in the coming months, we are going to prove that although you can work hard and you can try really hard, sometimes there's no accounting for just raw talent. Team Progress are here, and we open up with our first special attraction match In a 72B-, the Architect Dewey Archer defeats American Elemental by submission with a Proton Lock after blatantly cheating. And this is very reminiscent of the Ernest Youngman Dewey Archer matches from earlier in the year. It's just about flash. It's about it's about flash over substance. It's about two guys who are very, very good at grappling, who are very, very able to twist and contort the human body into a number of different poses and places. And you know what? They're not out there to grind out. They're not out there to hurt and to punish. They both know they're great. And they've got that flash and that charisma. And, you know, every single time they go hold for hold, they just want to show that they're better. They're not out there to grind out a victory. They're not just out there to win. They're out there to show that they are the most electrifying grappler in the business, and they just try and one-up each other. It's very, very close. A very hard-fought match between American Elemental and Dewey Archer as they just go hold for hold and hold for hold. But eventually, Dewey Archer seems to get the upper hand, tries to work down American Elemental, trying to lock in that Proton Lock. But American Elemental, he's got that heart, he's got that fire, he's got that high-flying ability. He gets up, he hits those ropes, he heads to the top rope, he goes for those big, high-flying maneuvers. He tries to quicken the pace so that the Architect Dewey Archer is just caught off guard, so that he loses his control over the match. And it succeeds. American Elemental, with that fire and that flash, gets that babyface comeback and starts dominating the match. And Dewey Archer looks out of it until finally he just throws him into the exposed turnbuckle and rolls him up with a Proton Lock. And American Elemental, the most fearsome submission in the business, has no choice but to tap out, and the crowd just boo. The grandest stage of them all, where it all begins again. American Elemental with a fantastic performance. And he gets beat. As we move into Chris Caulfield versus Shinikami, and these two just brawl. It's a brutal, vicious brawl, and then eventually Chris Caulfield gets out a chair and just hits Shinikami with it, and the ref's like, fuck it, I'll let it go. I'll let it go. And then Shinikami just does like a coast to coast with the chair, gets out a trash can. It's just a ridiculous trash brawl for 5 minutes. And then eventually they're outside the ring. The ref counts to 10. He's like, fuck it, you guys keep going. And Shinikami goes to the balcony and does a fucking senton off the balcony. And he misses and he goes through like 5 tables, and Chris Caulfield rolls him into the ring and pins him. Yep. That was this match. Just a crazy 5 minutes of trash. And in the end, Chris Caulfield does defeat the reckless high flyer Shinikami with a danger drop. As we move on to our Heart Prospect tournament matches, although I think there's an angle first. Yes, in the interview area, the number one contender to the Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship, Frosher, is being interviewed. And he says, you know, I've been doing a lot of thinking over these last couple months about a question. It's a question that I think holds deep and true to everybody in professional wrestling. Why do I fight? You know, bro, it's different for everybody. You know, you got guys like Greg Gage who went out there who really thought they were the best, bro. Really thought he was the best in professional wrestling. And he went out there and he wanted to prove it, you know? And you got guys like Ernest Youngman who just love every second of it. And they want to do as much professional wrestling as they possibly can. They want to wrestle the best, and they want to enjoy every second of it. You know, Ernest Youngman was very critical of a guy called Roddy Remus a couple of years ago because he wrestled for money. And I think there's a difference, because I think there are some people, they wrestle for excess. You got the Dynamite Express, you got Sid Collier, you got Cameron Jones. You know, they wrestle for excess, bro. They wrestle to live these high-flying lives. They want money so that they can show off. You know, they want everyone to know they got money. I don't think wrestling for money is in itself a bad thing. You know, I got kids to feed, and I've been working out in California for the last 5 years, living paycheck to paycheck, maybe getting booked once a month, and, you know, it's hard. It's really hard, and, you know, I think I'm a good wrestler, but sometimes there's just not enough money to go around. And I gotta feed my family, bro. I gotta feed my family. I gotta give my wife the home and what she deserves. And that's why I fight. And, you know, being the Mid-Atlantic Regional Champion is worth so much to me. It is a ticket to security. It is a ticket to make sure that I can feed my kids every night. It is a ticket to make sure that I can put my wife through college again. And that's why I fight. And, you know, I've got something to fight for, and I've got an ideal, and every time I close my eyes and I think about becoming the Mid-Atlantic Regional Champion, I see what I can do for my family. And Scythe, you don't. I think I got you beat. And we move on to our Hot Prospects tournament as James Diaz, the Return of the Monster, defeats Huracan with a Asian thumb spike. Huracan impresses in this match. He has this high-flying, not high-flying, but really fast-paced, really quick-paced, action-oriented style. As he hits those ropes, he gains that momentum. He goes for those Hurricane Ranas, those low drop kicks, but he mixes it in with some really stiff strikes. We get a really impressive performance from Huracan, but eventually James Diaz just clubs him in the face. And, James Diaz is this big lad. He's called the Return of the Monster, and he's just able to hit these big lariats. He's never taken off his feet, and he's able to use that strength, that size, that power to just dominate Huracan. And Huracan, he's got that heart, he's got that passion, and he fights very, very hard and puts in a very impressive performance, but eventually James Diaz picks up the victory and moves on to the semi-finals of the Hot Prospects Tournament 2019, where he will fight Shuzo Utogawa, who defeats Humberto Ramos by submission with a sleeper hold. A quick match. These two just trade some basic grappling before eventually Shuzo Utogawa locks in the sleeper hold to pick up the victory. Good stuff from both men as we move in, I believe, unless there's an angle, to the four-way tag team match for the Mid-Atlantic Gold. We have a promo, as in the interview area. It's Kid San Juan, Island Boy Apollo, and Island Boy Apollo says, tonight, the original, most electrifying team in the history of the territories gets to do it again. There was a time where I looked at him and I thought we'd never be able to wrestle as a tag team again, and it really hurt me. But tonight, that all changes. Tonight, I know we can wrestle as a tag team tonight, and we can wrestle for the big one. It is the biggest match in our tag team career. It's the biggest match in my career. It's the biggest title I've ever got to fight for, and I love the Mid-Atlantic Regional title, and I was an honor to be an ambassador to this company. But this championship is recognized throughout the world as the greatest tag team in in this company, in this industry today. And you know what? It's time to electrify, and it's time to win that title. And Kid San Juan takes the microphone off of Island Boy Paul and says, "Sid Collier, you tried to take from me my career. My career is the most precious thing in my life, and I will not forget that that's what you tried to take from me. So tonight, I'm going to take away your ticket to the big time. I'm going to take away the one thing that makes you high earners. I'm going to take away the one thing that makes you respected across this world. I'm going to take away the one thing that matters to you the most, the World Tag Team Championships." Two guys fired up. Will they win the World Tag Team titles tonight against the Dynamite Express, who have made 9 defenses of those titles, the second most defenses in the history of the championships? Will it continue tonight, or will the Puerto Rican boys pick up the win? As we move into a 4-way tag team match for the tag team titles. And indeed, the Ring Generals pick up the win over Notorious, Devil May Care, and Dead Men Walking in 17 minutes. In 17 minutes, the order of elimination was Dead Men Walking first, then Notorious, then finally Devil May Care. We are actually going to ignore that because I don't think there is. There isn't an option, I don't think, to make a non-elimination 4-way. So this was a non-elimination 4-way. It was just a one fall to the win, and the Ring Generals pick up the win by pinning Mobster. Yeah, pick up the win by pinning a Mobster. So there is, of course, the question of, did Devil May Care really deserve to lose the titles tonight? Well, who knows? Ring Generals become 2-time Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions. We move on to the Confederation of the Territories World Tag Team Championship match. I think I've done enough talking over the last couple of months about the rivalry between Island Boy Apollo, Kid San Juan, and Sid Collier. Cameron Jones hasn't weighed in, but he has got to defend his tag team titles tonight against the Puerto Rican boys. And this match, we got the traditional tag team action from the Dynamite Express. They're trying to work down Kid San Juan. And every time Sid Collier and Kid San Juan are in there, I think both Cameron Jones and Island Boy Apollo are looking at it like, please don't kill him, Sid. And it's, to Sid's credit, he doesn't, oh shit, jeez. Oh god, I'm gonna have to change something later. Anyway, it's to Sid's credit, he doesn't murder Kid San Juan. He wrestles a normal match, and indeed, the ring generals, not the ring generals, the Dynamite Express, who could be considered ring generals, work down Kid San Juan in the corner. They cut off the ring. They make sure to isolate the small Puerto Rican lad, and they try and work him down. They try and grind him out. We've seen Sid Collier grind out results before, and Kid San Juan, he tries to fight back with that high flying, tries to hit drop kicks to the legs, trying to get that opening, those enziguris, trying to jump across the ring. He's athletic. Kid San Juan, he can spring. He's got that pace and that speed, and he does manage at some point to spring across the ring and get in Ellen by Apollo, who clears house. He hits Cameron Jones. He hits Sid Collier. He does the big military press. Hits maybe an island driver, and it gets broken up or something like that. And it's just a back and forth, and eventually Kid San Juan eventually gets his win back. And Island by Apollo's starting to get worked down by the Dynamite Express, and he jumps across the ring. And Kid San Juan, just like he did during the Sam Keith Classic, impresses with his high-flying, adrenaline rush style, and eventually picks up the victory with a moonsault press over Cameron Jones. And even though the game won't record it, they have indeed won the World Tag Team Championships. Big night for the Puerto Rican boys. Could it be a big night, though, for Fro? Sure. All championships that have been defended so far have changed hands. We have 2 championships left tonight, the first of which is the Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship. Scythe, the Demon, has been champion for 12 months. He beat Island by Apollo last year for the title. Since then, he has once again beat Island by Apollo for the title. He has been a dominant champion. He has been a brutal champion. He has been almost indestructible. And, Scythe, since he's been here, he's taken out guys like George Wolf, like American Elemental, like Papa Dan. He has beaten some of the greatest names in this company today. He is a brutal, destructive monster. But, Fro Shore, we heard earlier tonight, he's got something to fight for. He's got that passion. He's got that belief in himself. And every time he closes his eyes, he sees the life he could give his wife and kids if only he had the Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship. That's what he fights for. He's not here for some, idealistic view of professional wrestling like we'll see Ernest Youngman later tonight. He is here because if he wins, he can give his wife and kids more than they currently have. And that to him is such a powerful drive. And, he hasn't been here a long time. He actually, basically made his debut in August. I mean, he was here for a Ripcord Invitational a couple of years ago, but he really only made his debut in August. But he was there, and he seized an opportunity. He won a 6-man match at Battle for the Mid-Atlantic for the number 1 contendership. Can he take that opportunity all the way to a regional title victory? No. In a bout that had great wrestling and good heat, Scythe defeats Fro Shore in 14 minutes. With an underworld spike, Scythe makes defense number 3 of his Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship. Now, of course, we have the back-and-forth brawl of these two. The vicious, the brutal, the aggressive Scythe. This match probably reminds a lot of people in the crowd of the Island Boy Apollo Scythe match from last year. Fro Shore is just throwing those elbows, throwing those punches, throwing those kicks, and Scythe is just laughing it off. Every strike, Scythe is just laughing it off. He enjoys pain. Whether he's inflicting it or taking it, he loves pain. And that's what he got tonight. He got a lot of pain. Every second was pain, but he took it, and he just smiled in the face of pain. And last year, Island by Apollo, when he saw that, he started to lose hope. He started to give up. Because he had fought so many creatures in the past, and eventually he could wear them down, but he saw there was no end to that tunnel. Fro Shore, he didn't do that. He didn't give up when he saw there was no end to that tunnel, because he knows he needs to keep fighting. He saw his kids, he saw his wife in his head, and he thought, I'm gonna keep fighting. And like Island by Apollo, Scythe doesn't win this match because the other guy gave up due to despair. Fro kept fighting. Fro had to be put down. In fact, Scythe, like last year, Scythe maybe just picked up Island by Apollo and gave him a chokeslam when Island Boy was distressed. This time, when he went to go for the chokeslam, Fro just slaps him in the face. Fro just slaps Scythe directly in the face, and it just enrages Scythe. He hits the ropes, lariat, picks him up, lariat, picks him up, lariat, and just like an old dog, Fro Shore is just put down by Scythe, and he picks up the victory with an underworld spike. As we get ready for our main event of the evening, the heavyweight championship of the world is on the line. John Greed has been on a sensational hot streak throughout Coastal Zone Pro Wrestling, beating some of the greatest names the world has to offer, including Squeaky McLean and others, and George Wolf. as well as many others. He is one of the greatest world champions in the business, but he's taking on the guy who claims to be the best there's ever been, the wrestling machine, the assassin of the squared circle, someone who has definitely been the greatest pure wrestler in the MAW since the series has begun. There's no doubt about it. On his best night, he has beaten every other person that has been in this company so far. Like, if you put him up against Giant Brody on his best day, you could probably beat him. You put him up against Scythe, maybe not. Maybe Scythe's the exception. But Island by Apollo, I think he could beat him. Dewey Archer, he can beat him on his best day. For sure. You know, you've got Ernest Youngman has some serious scalps under his belt, and it's hard to argue with his record. And tonight, he gets an opportunity to break records, to do something nobody's ever done, because nobody has ever won the heavyweight championship of the world on 2 occasions. And let that sink in for you for a second. That Ernest Youngman is a former heavyweight champion of the world. He is one of a select few, one of 6 or 7 men to have won the grandest prize in the industry. And, you know, Ernest Youngman, he's kind of multi-layered. You got this thing where he just likes to go out there and face the best competitors that he has to offer. That's his motive, right? He wants to just fight the best because he enjoys it and he loves it. But there's something deeper, because it's a subconscious feeling that we got last year that when Ernest Youngman isn't confident, when he can't call himself the best there's ever been in the wrestling machine, he is uncomfortable. He doesn't fight to be that, but that is what he considers to be his identity. And when he doesn't feel like that's who he is, he feels incredibly uncomfortable. And tonight he gets to put that belt around his waist if he can win. He gets to put his sunglasses on. He gets to get on the mic and he gets to say those things. And he gets to feel like he is himself. If he loses, he doesn't get to feel that way. And that's a dark place to be. But tonight in our main event of the evening, it is John Greed. It is Ernest Youngman. It is the World Heavyweight Championship, and it's 74B-, and about to have a fantastic heat and great wrestling. Ernest Youngman defeats John Greed in 25 minutes and 6 seconds by submission with the crossface chicken wing. Ernest Youngman wins this Confederation of the Territories World Heavyweight Championship. So we have the start of this match is exactly like the start of the match from last month, where John Greed is just trying to brutalize Ernest Youngman. He's trying to dominate. He's trying to victimize Ernest Youngman and make sure that Ernest Youngman stays down, can't get his momentum going, can't get on top of the match, because he knows that if Ernest gets on top of the match, Ernest can run away with it. And it's the same thing where Ernest eventually just wears John down. He eventually just locks in a crossface chicken wing. He just gets him worn down, a war of attrition. But this happens around the same time as last month, about 15 minutes in. But this time John Greed will not tap. This time John Greed is not going to give up, and he gets to the ropes. And there's about 5 minutes where all it is 2 crossface chicken wings, and both times it takes John Greed about 3 minutes, 2 minutes to just crawl himself to that fucking bottom rope as the crowd are just shouting tap at him. And then eventually he stands up and he hasn't tapped, and then it just devolves into this brawl, into a brutal, vicious, back and forth brawl between two of the greatest wrestlers we have ever seen in this business, as they just brawl and brawl and brawl, and eventually Ernest does manage to slip back into that charismatic style, that charismatic grappling style, and he tries to put those sequences together, and he tries to put John Greed down, but he can't do it, because John Greed, he's got that ability, he's got that heart, really. You know, as much as he does relax sometimes, as much as he is brutal sometimes, he's got heart. You can't deny it of him. And he'll slip out and he'll power Ernest Youngman off of him. And he will keep fighting. And then Ernest Youngman, he gets that fire. He realizes that he might not win this match, and he gets worried. Because he needs to win this match. Because if he doesn't win this match, he doesn't know who he is. He can't do the thing that makes him comfortable. He can't get on the mic and say that he's the best. He doesn't fight to be the best. But if he's not the best, it makes him uncomfortable. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know who he is. He's got to be the best. And he keeps fighting. And he keeps fighting because he has to be the best. And in the end, he is the best. Because even though John Greed will not tap, he will never give Ernest Youngman the satisfaction of tapping in a World Heavyweight Championship match. He passes out. Because Ernest Youngman, that crossface chicken wing, is a victory condition. And he passes John Greed out. And Ernest Youngman is the first ever 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. He calls for the mic and he gets on it and he says, you know, I thought I was done. I listened to guys like Dewey Archer that said that was my peak last year. But you know what? I have fought so hard to get here again, and you know, I can put these sunglasses on. I can look down at my waist, and I can know that I'm number one. Because you know what? There is only one title belt in the wrestling world that proves that you're number one. And you talk about your Nicholas Lopez. You talk about your John Greeds. You talk about your Puerto Rican powers. Those were legends. Those were the best this business had to offer. And they only won this title once. You are looking at the 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. And I can say, with true honesty and a tear in my eye, that I'm the best there's ever been. I am the wrestling machine. I'm the assassin of the squared circle, and I am the world's heavyweight champion. This is my ticket to compete night in, night out with you guys, you wonderful, wonderful guys in the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium, knowing that I represent you and that I fight to hear those cheers and those boos, those laughs, that crying, every single emotion that you give out. I love it. I live for it. And now I get to be the champion again. And now I get to start this journey again. Because there is a bullseye on my back. And I tell you, that bullseye attracts the biggest cavalcade of professional wrestling. That bullseye attracts the greatest crowd of opponents and rivals that you have ever seen. And I'll be damned if that isn't what I live for. 2 years ago, I took a 6-month hiatus from professional wrestling because nobody wanted to hire me. The first company to reach out of the blue and say, "Here, Ernest, we want you," was Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. And 2.5 years later, I get to stand here at the biggest show in the history of this company and give a little piece back to the company that made me who I am. And that gives me so much pleasure. So I just wanted to say 2 words, 2 very, very simple words that, goddamn it, aren't the truest words that have ever come out of my mouth. He looks down at his title belt, takes off those sunglasses, throws them into the crowd, gets back on the mic. Thank you. Drops the mic. Music plays. Confetti rains from the sky. Ernest Youngman heads into the crowd. And that is where it all begins again. 2019. Not the longest show I've ever recorded, but goddamn if it didn't break my voice. 1 second. Jesus Christ. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Jesus, that's a good rating too. 72B. By the way, I've started gaining pop every month, so that's crazy. I'll definitely be doing like an end of year review. When I say definitely, not definitely. I'm probably going to be doing some sort of roundup look at the world in a couple of months. I'm not sure when, and I'm not sure quite what format it's going to take yet. I've had a couple of ideas. I definitely don't want to do an end of year review again. I think that was a bad idea. I know a lot of people seem to enjoy it, but I didn't like the content. There was just me like rambling about stuff. I don't feel like my stories are worth recapping like last time either. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet though. And as usual, I released the save last year. I'm going to be releasing the save in like 2 years again. And if you're ever interested in what is going on in the world, like where is this guy? What's he doing? Then just ask in the comments or ask me on Twitter. And I'll send you images. If you're on Twitter, I always like reply with images. Like I remember back in Brand Split when people were asking about NXT champions and stuff, I would just tweet them back the image of the title history and stuff. So if you ever want to just have a closer look at stuff, Twitter's probably the best place to ask me questions about the world, whereas the comments are best for asking me questions about MAW. So that's what I'd say to you on that one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Check out the rest of the series. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're feeling especially generous, in particular like this 72B- show, go ahead and check out the link to my Patreon. Link's in the description. I've already pimped out my Twitter, but that's also in the description. And yeah, tell me what you thought. What did you think about Team Progress? Do you think that they're going to be a dominant force here in MAW? Do you think people like Robin DeLay and Logan Wolfsbane are going to be the next big things here? How do you think Papa Dan is going to feel about this new thing? He's obviously just going along with it for now, but we haven't heard him talk. What do you think about Dewey Archer cheating to beat American Elemental? What do you think about Shinikami finally jumping off of the balcony? So many people have promised to do that over the last couple of years. And it's a new balcony, too. It's here in the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium. It's a new balcony. What do you think about James Diaz and Shuzo Utagawa? These good old hot prospects. What about the Puerto Rican boys becoming the Confederation of Territory World Tag Team Champions? No worry, I will replace. If you never played TEW before or you haven't played it a lot, there's a replace function in titles, so you can essentially have non-show title changes, right? You can do a title change in the middle of nowhere, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to change it over to those guys. It should be fine. I've done that with other. It's a very useful function with the Alliance titles, where it's like, I want this guy to win the title, and I want it to seem like it's in another territory. So I'm just going to change it and consider a new reign and say that date a house show happened, and they changed that. So it's very handy for Alliance titles. Let me know about the Ring Generals winning back their titles. Obviously, they failed to beat Devil May Care all year in 2v2 matches, and they finally pick up the win, but it's in a multi-man match. Does that affect the legitimacy of their reign? What's the rematch going to look like? Find out in the next couple months. And of course, for sure, where does he go from here? He's got to go back to his wife and kids, and he said that this was an essential match for him, that he's just getting by right now, and that he needed that Mid-Atlantic Championship to be secure and financially. So what's he going to do? Is he going to go back to Coastal Zone? John Greed's the champ over there. He's a big deal. But then Scythe's a monster. Maybe he has to enter the Ripcord Invitational. Maybe that's his ticket to the big time. So Fro is definitely someone who we've got to look out for. But Ernest Youngman, the story of the night, the guy, the man, is back on top of the world. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about everything in the comments below. I hope you guys have enjoyed 2019. We're going to wrap it up with 2 more shows, and then 2020, baby. We are in a new decade. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do a decade roundup. Who was my wrestler of the 2010s? Hint, hint, it was the guy who won Wrestler of the Year 7 times, Champagne Lover. Yeah, I'm just going to stop rambling now. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry if you don't like the longer episodes, but I like that this, of all shows, is one of the longer ones. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support so far in the series. It's been really heartwarming as my voice just dies. And I've loved doing this. I hope to continue doing it for another God knows how long. So, anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.